Throughout mankind's history, religions have prophesied about the latter days. These predictions of a time at the twilight of humanity's existence often paint the picture of a future where great powers rule a spiritually vacuous world in which sin and vice abound. Great natural disasters spread through the earth. Most importantly, though, it is during this age many religions claim that humanity will be saved from this spiritual vacuity. Be it through a Messiah, a messenger, a Saviour, or even the Son of God, religions believe that in the latter days a figure will appear that will guide humanity out of the darkness into the light. After the advent of this figure, it is believed that evil will be struck down and humanity will be guided under one banner, one religion, and one creed. Indeed, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have all been promised a messianic figure in the latter days, and all await this Saviour. It is claimed in the 12th of Maimonides' 13 Principles of the Jewish Faith that all Jewish people await the coming of the Messiah, and the Jewish people show this vividly by striking their heads against the Wailing Wall, beseeching their Messiah to present himself. In Christianity and Islam, this Messiah is the second coming of Jesus Christ, on whom be peace. Although this figure is awaited by all the various religions, there is much disagreement about the exact person of this Messiah. Jesus, for example, is not recognized as the Messiah within the Jewish faith, nor do all Muslims and Christians agree on the figure of the Messiah, even though they both await the second coming of Christ. However, despite these initial disagreements and diversions, a closer inspection reveals similarities between the three religions in not only the signs of the latter days, but also in the signs of the advent of this messianic figure. All three Abrahamic faiths present remarkably similar analyses of the latter days. They predict a time of great war, deep political divide, and devastating natural disasters. For example, the Torah suggests in the book of Ezekiel at 38:16, "And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land." The Bible suggests in the book of Matthew that upon the second coming of Jesus, there will be great war of nation against nation, and many natural disasters. And the Quran suggests further, along with the Old and New Testament, that in the latter days the great powers of Gog and Magog will rule in the time of the advent of the Messiah. Therefore, not only do the three faiths share the idea of the Messiah, but they are also united in their idea that the Messiah will come at a time of political turmoil, war, and natural disaster. A cursory glance at the news in the modern era will reveal that many of these signs shared by the three biggest religions on the planet are being manifested today. We are living in a time of great political turmoil, wars on an unprecedented scale, and a time of many natural disasters. It is clear that when we take these similar predictions of the three religions into account, that we are certainly living in the times of the latter days. And indeed, the religions themselves accept that this is the case. However, if this is the case, then all three religions will be eagerly awaiting their Messiah to unite all of humanity under the one single religious banner. This makes no logical sense. How can three different religions be awaiting three different individuals, all with the function of uniting humanity under the one banner? As Mirza Tahir Ahmad Rahimullah Ta'ala wrote in Revelation, Rationality, Knowledge and Truth, each claimant would proclaim himself to be the only true manifestation of the promised reformer. Each would invite all of mankind to himself as the only hope of their salvation. Each would declare all rivals to be mere hoaxes and impostors. The utter madness of this scenario is self-evident. Of course, religions would answer this difficulty with a simple answer. Ours is the true Messiah. Judaism would not accept the purported messiahs of Christianity or Islam, nor would Christians accept a Muslim savior or vice versa. even considering that they are both awaiting the same thing, the second coming of Christ. The matter, if left there, would of course be almost impossible to reconcile or decide. However, there is an even more striking concept running throughout the Abrahamic faith, signaling the advent of the Messianic figure. It is the idea that at the time of the Messiah there will be a darkening of the sun and of the moon. We can see this concept running strongly throughout all three faiths' holy books and sayings. In the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 10, it states, "For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine." In the New Testament, in the book of Revelations, chapter 6, verse 12, it states, "There occurs a great earthquake where the sun becomes black, as sackcloth of hair, and the moon like blood." Finally, in Islam, there is a quote from the Quran, chapter 75, verses 7 to 11, which also points to this phenomenon. "When the eye is dazzled and the moon is eclipsed, and the sun and the moon are brought together, on that day man will say, whither to escape?" The true meaning of this striking parallel that runs strongly through the three Abrahamic faiths has light shed upon it by a saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. In Sunan al-Darqutni, in volume 8, it is reported by Muhammad ibn Ali that the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "The advent of our Mahdi will be marked by two important signs. These signs have never appeared before since the creation of the heaven and the earth. The moon will be eclipsed on the 1st of Ramadan, and the sun shall be eclipsed in the middle of Ramadan, and these two signs have not appeared since the creation of the heaven and the earth." It is truly remarkable that all three faiths would bear so much similarity to each other, not only on the time of the latter days, but on the event of the advent of the Messiah himself. When this is taken into account, it becomes illogical to suggest that all three faiths are waiting for separate persons. The only logical solution is that, considering that these faiths are incredibly united in their agreement on the timing of the latter days and the Messiah, all of them await the same person. The Saviour and the Messiah of all the faiths are in fact one person, whose advent will occur at a time of the darkening of the sun and the moon, the solar and lunar eclipses. This remarkable phenomenon has occurred in Qadian, India, in the late 19th century. During the month of Ramadan, both a solar and lunar eclipse occurred on the specified dates, fulfilling the prophecies of all three Abrahamic faiths in one miraculous event. A few years prior to this, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam had claimed to be the Messiah and promised reformer of all true faiths. However, despite the occurrence of this remarkable phenomenon fulfilling the prophecies and predictions of all three of the Abrahamic faiths, people continue to diverge on the identity and realization of this Saviour, and therefore seemingly reject the signs that are in front of them, fulfilling prophecies in their own holy books. All Abrahamic faiths are waiting for the arrival of a Saviour in the latter days. All groups believe that the Saviour is exclusively for them. They all further seem to share the same ideas about the sort of time at which the Redeemer will come, a time of turmoil, natural disasters and political conflict. And quite remarkably, they all predict the signs of the lunar and solar eclipses. It is indeed telling then that even though these signs have been clearly presented, world religions maintain their belief in a Messiah from their own faith. They will not acknowledge the possibility that the reformer awaited by all the different faiths is a single person who embodies the fulfillment of all of their prophecies. But this is the only rational explanation for the remarkable parallels that can be clearly seen in the various books of faith. Since the religions acknowledge that we are now in the latter days, they must also acknowledge that acceptance of the Messiah is the only way to save themselves from destruction.